What if the financial system you rely on every day was being replaced and no one told you? This is happening now, silently, through a series of quiet clicks and policy shifts that are rewriting the rules of money. The new rules aren't about the value of your money anymore, they're about your access to it. When access disappears, everything else becomes secondary. This isn't some far-off dystopian future. This is happening now, and how you respond will shape your financial future. For decades, we were all taught to play a specific game. Work hard, save money, invest. We all just assumed the system itself, the plumbing, the wiring, the foundation, was solid. The only thing you had to worry about was how much value you could build up inside that system. Well, that game is over. The board has been flipped. We're entering an era where you can be solvent, have a great net worth on paper, and still be financially paralyzed. This solvent but frozen scenario is the new reality, where the system itself is the risk. We're already seeing the warning shots. In 2022, the Canadian government froze the bank accounts of protesters involved in the, quote, Freedom Convoy by invoking the Emergencies Act. These measures were temporary and targeted specific individuals, but they exposed just how fragile our access to the financial system can be, even without warning. We've seen how geopolitical tensions can weaponize the financial system, with sanctions leading to asset seizures. These aren't isolated incidents. They're previews of the system's vulnerabilities. At the heart of the problem is a convergence of massive global risks. Global government debt has now blown past $100 trillion, an unprecedented level that keeps climbing. We have a highly leveraged financial system where the failure of one institution can set off a domino effect, causing a liquidity crisis. That's when everyone rushes for the exits at once, trying to sell assets for cash, but there are no buyers. It's like a fire in a crowded theater, only one exit, and no matter how wealthy you are, you're stuck in the back with no way out. Your bank account, your brokerage account, your retirement fund, they are digital records, permissions, not vaults. And in a crisis, those permissions can be revoked. This isn't about spreading fear. It's about building awareness. The mainstream financial news is still teaching you how to arrange the furniture without telling you the house is built on a foundation of sand. A major part of this shift is happening under the umbrella of central bank digital currencies. They're being sold as efficiency upgrades, but they also represent a structural change towards centralized permissioning. This isn't about predicting collapse. It's about understanding how access and control now work in modern systems. Even without full retail rollouts, the capability to permit or deny transactions is the real change. So, what does this all mean for you? It means the old model of just accumulating assets isn't enough. The new game is about resilience. It's about building a personal financial system that can withstand the stress, the freezes, and the failures of the bigger system. It requires the 4 principles of financial survival. If you're new here, what we're about to cover will change how you view money forever. If you've been with us for a while, this is the video that connects all the dots. So, if you want to stay ahead of these shifts, make sure you subscribe. You're not going to want to miss what's coming next. This brings us to the core of this video, the solution. The framework that turns you from a pawn in this game into a player who actually understands the board. Principle number 1, access. Can you reach it when others can't? The first and most important question is, in a crisis, can you actually get to your assets? When the banks shut their doors, when the ATMs are empty, when the brokerage websites are down for unscheduled maintenance, can you still function? The money in your bank is not cash. It's a digital IOU from the bank. During a bank run or a system-wide freeze, that promise can be delayed. The scenario isn't that the bank is broke, but that it's solvent but frozen. If your assets are locked in, what will you do? So, what does building for access look like? The first layer is a meaningful amount of physical cash in your possession. In a power outage, cyber event, or bank holiday, cash is the only thing that works without anyone's permission. The next layer is about self-custody of certain assets. This is where digital assets, if you understand them correctly, offer a powerful tool. Holding a digital asset in a self-custody wallet means you are the bank. You hold the private keys, and no one can freeze or move your assets without them. If your bank account was frozen tomorrow, what would you do? If you don't have an immediate answer, you've got a serious access problem. Principle number 2, jurisdiction. Who controls it? The second principle is jurisdiction. It asks which government has the final say over your assets. Every dollar, every stock, every bond you own exists within a specific legal jurisdiction, and that jurisdiction's laws and geopolitical mood swings represent a massive invisible risk. With the rise of central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, we're moving into a world where access to your assets can be granted or denied by governments with the flick of a switch. Holding all your assets in a single country exposes you to the decisions of that government. If it suddenly implements capital controls or faces geopolitical isolation, your wealth could be trapped. Principle number 3, liquidity timing. Can you act early? The third principle is liquidity timing. It's not just about having liquid assets, it's about accessing that liquidity before everyone else is desperately trying to do the same thing. A concrete example is building a war chest, a portion of your portfolio held in the most liquid forms like cash and short-term government bills. This isn't your investment money. Its purpose is to give you options when others have none. The consequence of poor timing is severe. In a crisis, liquidity vanishes with terrifying speed, and the market can go from having buyers to having no buyers within hours. Principle number 4, optionality. Can you move between systems? Optionality is your freedom. It's about having multiple options when the world tries to box you in. A concrete way to build this is through a multi-asset approach. Your portfolio should have a mix: traditional stocks and bonds, real assets like property, and perhaps a small allocation to alternative systems like cryptocurrencies. The goal isn't to predict the winner, but to ensure that if one system is compromised, you have a foothold in others. If you only have one bridge off an island and it gets destroyed, you're trapped. Optionality is about having multiple bridges. It's not about diversifying everything at once, but having the flexibility to pivot when others can't. The principles matter, but behavior is where this becomes real. It assumes you can't predict the future and that shocks are inevitable. This leads to 3 critical shifts in behavior. First, focus on preparedness metrics, not price targets. Instead of obsessing over what could go up, ask yourself, how much of my net worth can I access in 24 hours? It's about building the ark, not predicting the rain. Second, prepare before the headlines. A crisis unfolds in stages. First, the contrarians see the cracks. Then, the institutional players quietly reposition. Finally, the headlines hit and mass panic begins. Your goal is to act in that first stage. This means learning to read the signals from the financial and geopolitical landscape, and seeing that when major geopolitical risks are ranked as a top threat, it's not just background noise. Third, and most importantly, prioritize optionality over prediction. The future isn't a single path. You don't need to know if your currency will weaken if you hold multiple currencies. You don't need to predict a bank failure if you have assets both inside and outside the banking system. It's an admission of humility. This isn't about predicting exactly what will happen. It's about preparing for what could happen. And when you prepare with flexibility, you can navigate whatever comes next. This is personal for me. Navigating my own health challenges taught me the profound difference between being fragile and being resilient. It taught me that systems, the human body or the financial system, can look fine on the surface while being incredibly vulnerable underneath. It taught me that preparedness and having a plan B aren't paranoia. They are the definition of sanity in an uncertain world. If this framework resonates with you, take the next step by joining the Macro Investing Masterclass, where I'll show you exactly how to navigate these shifts with practical strategies and confidence. Together, we'll build the resilience you need to thrive in this new financial era. The shift is from a system based on value to one based on access. The 4 principles, access, jurisdiction, liquidity timing, and optionality, are your tools for reclaiming financial sovereignty in a world pushing for more control. This isn't a message of fear. It's a message of empowerment. Fear comes from being unaware and unprepared. Power comes from understanding the new rules and positioning yourself to win. As we continue to navigate this changing landscape, let's do so together, prepared and informed. If you're ready to take control of your financial future, understanding the new rules is your first step. So, I'll leave you with a question for the comments. Which of the 4 principles is your biggest vulnerability right now, and what's one small step you can take this week to start strengthening it? Stay aware, stay prepared, and I'll see you in the next one.